Well, hello again, worlders. So today I wanted to talk about cars and trucks, right? I know right now prices are outrageous for new vehicles. I was looking at some like F-150s and Chevy trucks and Toyotas and everything else, and they're basically starting out like $60,000. You know what I mean? So it's getting really crazy out there as far as truck prices go, and that's just for the base model. So if you get any frills like lifts or anything that looks cool, you're basically adding another $30,000-$40,000 to the price, and you're looking at close to 80, 90 to $100,000 for a truck. Cars, not as bad, but depends, what your tastes are, right? So I was trying to see if I could get a car cheap, right? And how cheap could I go? Because granted, you can check out like Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or something like that, as far as, buying new and used cars. But, um, you know, for the most part, uh, you can get lucky, and find a car on Facebook. But I was noticing a lot of the cars on Facebook were rebuilt title cars, and you can get a great deal rebuilt title cars. But I was thinking one step further down the line. So where did they get those cars from? I mean, how did they get rebuilt in the first place, right? So I was doing a little research, doing a little digging, and I found this site. It's called Insurance Auto Auctions, and here it is. It's IAAI.com. And it's this is like all over the US. Basically, anytime a vehicle gets wrecked or has an insurance claim or something like that, and the car is totaled, it basically you know gets sold at these auctions, right? And usually when that happens, uh, they sell these things without titles, and so you're just getting a bill of sale, and whoever buys these cars is going to have to fix up these cars, maybe rebend some frames and do some fender work and bumpers and doors and windows and all this other stuff, whatever needs to be done to fix the car, to get it roadworthy again, make sure it's safe, and then once you get it safe and get it all good, then you take it to usually your state patrol inspection office. They inspect it, and voila, they'll issue you a title. It's usually some sort of branded title, like a rebuilt title or a, I don't know, salvage title or whatever. But I'm actually not too sure how the process goes, but I feel like I got a fairly good uh, feel for it because I actually bought two cars just recently off this insurance auto auction site. So we're gonna see if we can do it, right? Because I was more curious than anything else, and see, because I was actually looking for a vehicle for my wife because our other car is getting kind of older, and I was seeing if I can get maybe one car for her and then maybe another car maybe I can fix up and resell and make a profit, and hopefully that will turn around and pay for both cars, right? Wish me luck and see how I did here, because like I said, I did end up buying two cars, and I'll show you the process how I did it, because it was kind of a struggle, because I've never done this before. uh, I actually started out just looking online. I was checking out auctions, like public auctions, stuff like that. And all these different sites started coming up. I mean, like Copart. There's this Copart site, and this site is actually, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, a lot of people buy from Copart, but I would definitely, you know, high rate of caution, with Copart because I would say only, experienced buyers, because somebody that really knows what they're looking at, because you're getting all sorts of weird stuff with Copart, because they sell wrecked vehicles. There could be other vehicles like from dealerships and stuff like that. It's like so, like when you trade in a car, let's say you your car's about ready to blow up, right? So you're like, oh, I better trade this car in, right? And so you take it down to the local car lot. Yeah, I want to trade in this beater for that new car, and then they go, oh yeah, we'll give you $500 for it. Really, they don't care what they give you for it because, I mean, they kind of care, but really, they're just going to send it to this auction place. And usually they send it to places like Copart. And unless it's nice, if you're trading in a nice car, they're probably going to resell that car on that same lot. But if your car is a beater and it's about ready to go and it has 300,000 miles on it or something like that, yeah, they're not going to want that car on their lot, making it all look ugly and everything, because they want their lots looking nice. And so they're going to send it to Copart. And what will happen is, Copart will try to sell it, and list it at auction, and they'll try to make it look as good as they can. And but buyer beware, because most likely you have no idea what you're getting with that car. You know what I mean? Because it's very limited. Some places you can go inspect the vehicle, but some might, not let you use like a code scanner or anything like that to check out the car. So you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. It's not like you can, do a compression check or anything like that, while it's sitting in the auction lot, right? So I would definitely be aware of that. And then they do sell wrecked vehicles, but I would say probably some of the wrecked vehicles are maybe a little too far gone, but you might get lucky. I don't know. So I kind of stayed clear of Copart just because I saw a lot of kind of lower end vehicles. So I started checking out some of these insurance auto auctions, and so I actually found another site, and it was called like, I think like SAA or so, I don't know, but it started with an S. I don't know, but it basically had this insurance auto auction um, on it. And I don't know, I think it was like some third party auction site, and it allowed me to bid on these vehicles from IAA. But it was a lot different, because they actually, before I could bid, they wanted, $1,000 deposit for every car, you bid on. So if you want, let's say you were interested in two cars, then you had to put $2,000 down. And that could be a, a lot of money, because you don't know if you're even going to get the cars. And, and when, and what happened to me was I actually bid on two cars. I didn't get one, but the other one, I was actually the highest bidder. It was bidding, and I bid like $300. I was the highest bidder, and for whatever reason, it almost seemed like my bid didn't go through, And so I don't know what happened there, but I kind of figured that it was either something to do with maybe I had to become a member or something like that. I don't know, but it seemed like it was more the fact that maybe the car had like a reserve on it, which does happen, So, and apparently, I noticed the very next week that same car went back up for auction, and this time it had a buy now, and it had a buy now of $900. And so that was, to me, that was kind of interesting because I was like, man, $900. Okay, why did they do that? And so the way these insurance auto auctions work is they'll list the car, and if you and they'll be like, and they won't show you the reserve or anything like that. So you're just bidding blindly. And if the car ends up selling below their reserve price, which you don't know, right? And so they end up not selling the car, And then the next auction, they'll do a buy now at the reserve price. So that reserve price was $900, right? So what I wanted to do was I wanted to see. I was tempted just to buy the car for $900, but I kind of figured, I was literally like the only bidder for this car, and I was curious if I can get it even cheaper than $900 because a lot of times if you bid on these cars and let's say it doesn't hit the reserve, but let's say you get close to the reserve, let's say it hits like $600, $700, $800, you know, even though the reserve is 900, they'll send it to the insurance company and say, hey, it didn't hit the reserve, but the guy offered you like $100 less than what you're asking. So would you take it? And 9 times out of 10, they'll take it. And so I, but which was kind of frustrating was I ended up finding this because I was curious. I'm like, why am I bidding on this other site, this third party site, when there's this IAA site as well? And so I actually, I have an IAA lot here in Spokane, Washington, right? So I actually went down there and wanted to talk to them because I was like, wanted to check out these vehicles. And because they were like, oh, you can inspect these vehicles the day before the auction. So the auction was on a Tuesday. So I went down there on a Monday. And so supposedly you can check out the car between 10 and 2 on Monday. So I went down there and I'm like, yeah, I want to check out these cars, right? Well, they're like, well, what's your buyer number? And I'm like, I don't know. What are you talking about? I don't know what buyer number is. And so, and because, like I said, I don't have a business license as far as, car dealer's license or anything like that. So I just was just a public. I wanted to be just a private buyer and, public auction, stuff like that, trying to keep it simple. So I went down and to this auction place and they were like, oh yeah, you need a buyer number. And I'm like, well, how do you get that? And they were kind of like, well, you got to sign up and it's kind of like a membership and you got to pay a fee of $200. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, how do I do that? And they're like, well, here's this paperwork. You got to fax this in and it might take, a couple days to get your number. And I'm like, oh man, well, the auction's tomorrow. So how am I going to get this number? And how can I inspect the vehicle and everything else? And, so I'm going to lose out, right? Because I did a lot of research, on these cars. And I was like, man, it sucks. Now I'm gonna have to wait another week, and I might lose out, and all this other stuff. But I was curious, so I grabbed all the paperwork they had, and I just went online, and so I downloaded their app and started figuring out, okay, I'll just sign up online, see if that might be faster. And sure enough, man, all you gotta do is download like your ID, and I think maybe even a picture of yourself or something like that. And that was about it. And then you pay the $200 and boom, you got your buyer ID. I mean, it was literally that fast. So I turned around and went back and, but it was also kind of interesting too, because when I was there talking to them, I noticed they were asking people, hey, make sure you have some vests on, that you have to wear like these, those bright either orange or yellow vests to walk around their lot. So while I was out, I stopped by Harbor Freight and I picked up a yellow vest, and then I went back. So once I went back, they asked me for my buyer number, and I'm like, oh, here it is, and there's my buyer number, and they're okay, and you got a vest? And I'm like, yep. I'll go, okay. And so I went and walked the lot, and I probably spent maybe, I don't know, a good hour, 2 hours walking around. And it was pretty interesting. I saw all sorts of different vehicles, and I probably checked out a lot of vehicles that probably weren't even up for auction yet because they were probably pretty new. And that's another thing you gotta think about too is they only offer so as a public buyer, you're not allowed to purchase every single vehicle. So they limit you on certain vehicles. But, for the most part, it's most of them, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. And it seemed like maybe some of the vehicles that they didn't offer to the public were too far gone anyway, and so you needed to be like a professional, auto body repair guy in order to fix it anyway. So it kind of worked out that way. So, but I was walking around the lot, and it was kind of interesting because I saw other buyers there checking out these cars, and you can definitely tell which ones were professionals and which ones were just blow Joes, but they're mostly professionals there. And so so I don't know if this is very ethical or not, but I was kind of looking at the cars that they looked at, so if they were interested in the car, then it kind of piqued my interest. Oh, okay, well, maybe that car might be something to look at. And so I kind of did that too. But on the other hand, there were two vehicles that I was mostly interested for myself. And so I checked out those cars, and yeah, it's great. You can go in, and there's keys right there. They're like strapped to the steering wheel with like a wire or something like that. And so then you can go in, and as long as the battery works, you can fire it right up and see if it works. And what's great is these places, you could even take your code reader, plug in your code reader, see what's wrong with the car. And you can also, bring your jumper cables or battery pack or something like that, and you can jump start the car if the battery's dead. But like I said, this site's actually really great. You can go on. Let's check this out here. So if you wanted to search vehicles, and you can do a lot of the research online before you get there. So so as you can see, this site in particular, uh, you know, it starts out like here you got Dayton, Ohio, uh, Taunton, Massachusetts, Albany, New York, so it's all over the place. So I don't want to drive, halfway Tampa, Florida, I don't want to drive all over the place for these cars. So I would definitely use these filter options to filter out what you're looking at. I kind of went with just the branch, or you can go by, state or distance or something like that. I just went with branch because I didn't feel like getting too carried away. So I just kind of scrolled down here to Spokane, Washington. Let's see if I can find it. There it is. Okay. So it looks like they got about 1,600 vehicles in their lot. So that's pretty interesting. And yeah, so while that loads, yeah, so it was kind of interesting. So to kind of go back in the lot there, yeah, I was kind of checking out all these cars, and you can get in them and start it up, and you can check out the damage to see how bad the damage is. And of course, a lot of the damage is hidden because, if there's bumper damage, a lot of times the bumper actually might look halfway decent, but behind it might be all smashed, so because those bumpers are just made of plastic, and they could bounce back, so a lot of times like the radiator might be smashed or something, or maybe the frame might be bent or something like that. So you definitely want to check out that and see, if it's fixable or not, or if you can tackle it. So I was mostly looking for cars that I'm hoping the frame's not bent, and because I felt pretty confident I can replace just about anything, and so if there's suspension damage or anything like that, I could probably fix that stuff. And then I'm going to attempt to do my own paint work too. I'm gonna try to use the rattle can method, so wish me luck on that. But yeah, so here you go. The site's pretty interesting. So here you got. So what I did when I was looking at these cars, I kind of stayed away from anything with too high of miles on it. So here you got a Subaru Tribeca here with 208,000 miles. And I personally have a Subaru Tribeca. It's a 2006 with about the same amount of miles. And I guarantee you, the parts for this thing are outrageous. There's no aftermarket parts. And it would literally cost you a fortune if there's any serious damage on this car, and you're probably never going to see your money back for something like this. So I don't know. Personally, I would like to stick with more American cars, something cheap parts, and or something that's mass produced. I like Toyotas and Chevys, Fords, stuff like that, Jeeps, something that's really popular, and you can find parts really easily. And so yeah, so and this has like vehicle scores on it. Supposedly it's like an AI type thing where you get like here it says 49 out of 50, so it kind of like takes a uh, I guess it claims the computer like scans the pictures and stuff and checks out the damage of the car, and it basically guesstimates how easy the car is to be fixable, so here 49 out of 50, that's actually very easy, because I like looking at this picture here, I don't even see any damage to it. So it might be something else. I have no idea. And they do sell cars. So buyer beware. They do sell cars at this auction site that's not an insurance claim. And I saw that at the lot too, because there was definitely a section of cars where they were all smashed, and like all were wrecked, and you can tell they have stickers on the windshields, and they'll say like, oh, this is a Progressive, this is Geico, insurance claim, and it'll say like partial total PTL, like partial total loss, on the windshield. So right away, that car is, wrecked. And as far as I'm concerned, the reason why I kind of went with these insurance auto auction is because I kind of felt like, hey, the car was probably running just fine before this accident, and so all you gotta do is just fix the body and fix the visual stuff, right? And so, but technically, the car should run fine. And but like I said, they did have a section of cars that actually, half the cars looked pretty good, but they were definitely older vehicles, and kind of going back to that Copart thing, where it was kind of like the cars that maybe were at some used car lot for too long, and they were just trying to get rid of it. So they'll send them to Copart or send them to this insurance auto auction. And what they're hoping for, I believe, is they're hoping for some guy to look online and not check out the car in person, and be like, oh yeah, this car looks great, and we'll, I'll pay $500 for it or whatever, and find out that this car is a piece of junk, right? It has all sorts of mechanical issues and everything else. So I try to stay away from anything that was being sold by a dealer, and just stuck with just anything by the insurance companies, because I just kind of felt like that was my safer bet. Like even on this site here, here you got this old Ford here. This is prime example here. So here you got a clear Washington title. And it says that the vehicle is stationary, and so that means it's not running. And so, like I said, this is probably a trade-in or something somebody had, and from some lot, and they took it there, and trying to sell it. So, but I mean, that could be a great project car, for somebody. That's a nice older truck. I could totally see somebody, pimping this thing out and putting some big fat tires on it, and put a nice paint job on it, and it looks like it has a little roll bar or something on it. I don't know, but yeah. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of an interesting site. So whatever flips your bick. Now where it says runs and drive, that basically means that the uh, the auction place, insurance auto auction, actually went in the vehicle. They started up the vehicle, runs. Maybe they might have put it in drive or reverse or something like that. And they claim they roll it forward a foot, backward a foot, and as long as it can do that, they can say it runs and drives. But could it make it home? I don't know. You know what I mean? So especially if the radiators all smashed and everything else. So it probably won't go very far if that happens. Because like this car here, I guarantee you it has, I don't know, some of these cars look worse than they actually are. So, it might just need a new hood, new bumper, some headlights, new grill, and yeah, so that might be it, but like I said, is it worth it? Because 2008, it's kind of getting older, almost has 200,000 miles on it. So I'd probably stay away from this vehicle, personally. I would like to pick something, under 100,000. Like here's a 2014 Nissan Altima. Uh, yeah, so let's click on this and see what. So this one has says it has a clear Idaho title. I don't know what that means, but yeah. So I don't know if this is an insurance claim or if this is something else. But yeah, so you can click on this and check this car out here. So here you go. Yeah, so it says it has a clear title. So this thing is probably from a dealer, I'm thinking. So there's probably some either, I'm thinking some mechanical issues. Oh no, there's some body damage. Because usually when I see clear titles, that usually means it's from a dealer, but not always. So this one definitely has some body damage to it. And yeah, so you can see a little fender damage. I think it's very minor. So I mean, heck, I see people in Spokane driving cars like this all the time, and just fine. It's kind of interesting. So and this car here, um, you could probably, it says, so it says, yeah, so it does say that this is from a seller, is Weasley, whatever that means. So it actually is probably from a lot. So this is probably a trade-in, I'm thinking, from a lot. And they probably just didn't want to deal with it because it has some fender damage. So I guarantee you this thing probably drives and can get around just fine. So if you're willing to deal with that damage, yeah, I think this would be actually a great car to bid on. But like I said, I would definitely check it out in person and start it up and see how it goes. Another thing I like about this site here is that it actually has a video of the engine running. And so if you click on this video here, you can hear the engine running. And it sounds pretty good to me. So that tells you it runs. Does it drive? I don't know. But I'm thinking. I like to like guess. Like I like to kind of create a story in my head when I'm looking at vehicles, trying to see how that goes here. And yeah, so I think that's basically exactly what's going on here. You can see the odometer, 91,000. Car looks pretty clean inside. You can see all that information. Yeah. But and what's kind of interesting with these lots, I've you know, this Weasley person that's trying to sell this thing. It's kind of funny how a lot of these car lots do not even know how to fix a car. What I mean? They just like to buy and sell. That's all they do, buy and sell, and they don't want to have to deal with any body work or anything like that because that's not their specialty. Their specialty is to sell cars. And their not specialty is not body work. And so if you're willing to put some elbow grease into these things, you can find a good deal. I mean, what car, you know, I wouldn't doubt if this thing sells probably, I don't even know what a blue book's at, but at 2014 with less than 100,000, I'm thinking probably, you're probably blue booking around 8,000 maybe, maybe 10 if you're lucky, if this thing was in perfect condition. So yeah, so you might be able to pick this thing up for maybe 2,000. So if you can get this thing for $2,000 and put $1,000 into it or whatever, just buy a new bumper. Looks like the headlight actually looks decent shape. So I would say just a new bumper and then fix the fender. Might have some little metal that you have to rebend a little bit, but yeah, I mean, I think you could totally fix this thing for less than 1,000, and then you can get a car, you know, let's say $3,000 in, and it's worth 8,000. So you're ahead $5,000. So yeah, so that's kind of what I was kind of looking at with these things, and so see what happens. Let's see what I actually bought, right? So we're gonna check out my purchase history here. And like I said, I bought two vehicles. Here are all the fees and everything if you wanted to see that. Here's the actual registration fee I paid the day before. That was $200. And then when you bid on these vehicles and you actually win, there's also a bunch of other fees and everything else, like there's like an auction fee and delivery fee, and like for this Jeep Compass, I actually had to have it delivered, so I had to pay, like, I think it was pretty cheap. It was only like $100, I think, to have it towed to my house. So, but the other one I actually drove home, so I was good there. And then and you can include that in all the fees if you want. And what I did is I paid cash or basically our cashier's check, really. I mean, so I'd recommend just going to their bank, getting a cashier's check. When you do that, you save a bunch on credit card fees and everything else, because they do, if you charge with a credit card or PayPal or something like that, they do charge extra fees, which probably cost an extra $100, $200, depending on the price of the vehicles and stuff. So I wanted to save that money, so I went ahead and went to the bank and got a cashier's check and went down there, and they did charge a $20 fee to pay in person. So which was still wasn't bad, considering if you didn't pay in person, it would cost you a couple $100. So paying $20 seemed like a deal. I don't know what this 98 cents is. Some sort of cash discount forfeit. I don't understand that. Oh, maybe because I didn't pay actual cash. But I was reading somewhere online that that they only accepted so much cash anyway. So I don't know. I didn't try to pay cash. I felt more comfortable paying with cashier's check. But I think what I read was they only accepted up to $500 cash. So I figured, well, shoot, I was paying them a couple thousand, so I just write them one check and be done with it, and that way I had proof, and I'd rather have some sort of receipt, especially since it's my first time doing this. And here you can see I paid $13.86 for the Jeep Compass. I actually won this thing at auction for $750, so the rest is all fees and plus the $100. So it's probably like $12.86 after all the auction fees, and then it was another $100 for the delivery. So total $13.86. And then this one, the Jeep, I think I won for like $1,500. So the more the bid is, the more the auction fee is, because I think it's based on a percentage of the sale. So I want to say it was like 10% or something. I can't remember what it was, but it added up pretty quickly. That's all I know. And so and depended on the vehicle and everything else. So like I said, this one here I actually won at auction. I think it was for like 15 or 1600, and then after all the fees, it was 200. So it was about $700 in fees, I think. And then yeah, so let's check out these photographs so you can see what I actually looked at what my thought process was. So you can see it's a 2009 GMC Arcadia. I felt like it was kind of older car, but as you can see here, if you look down here, let's see where it says. Okay, so the actual miles is 96,500. So it's under 100,000. So anytime you can get a car for under 100,000 miles, that's a good. I mean, that's just broke in as far as I'm concerned. As long as they changed the oil and took care of it and stuff like that. Uh, and then here it had a vehicle score of 49 out of 50. So that means it's very easily fixed. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's just probably just replace a bumper, maybe a fender or something like that. Should be good to go. And then here you have actual value 9,861, and then it has the estimated repair cost of 5,000. But if you do it yourself, it's going to cost a fraction of that. Like I said, I'm hoping to get this thing fixed for around $1,000. So right there, I'm saving about $4,000 in shop fees, and then I'm hoping to flip this thing. Because since it was so easy to fix, uh, I'm hoping that I can just flip it and make a profit, and hopefully pay both cars. This one car should pay for both vehicles and have a little extra. So we'll see how it works. Yeah. So here you go. Let's check out these. Let's check out what I was looking at here. So as you can see, this side looks pretty good. This is where the damage is in the front, and you can see here there's a nice deer hair still sticking out of it because it got hit by a deer, and so it's pretty obvious what happened to this car. They probably got hit by a deer, and kind of pushed this fender back a little bit, and so when they tried opening the door to get out, it bent in this fender. But otherwise, the fender looked really nice, fairly decent shape. So I'm hoping to pull this fender back out where it was, and then pop that dent out, and then maybe have to do some like touch up with the paint. And then I went ahead and ordered a new bumper. I got it off of eBay for $100. I ordered new headlights. I think the headlights were actually probably the most expensive thing. I think I spent, gosh, I can't even remember. It was either 100 or 200. It might have been about $200 for the headlights. I think it was like $100 per headlight. But the other headlight was kind of yellow and kind of yucky. So I could have buffed it out and cleaned it up, but I just went ahead and just fixed them all, just replaced it all, and then I might end up saving the old headlight, buffing it out, and then reselling it on eBay, and then see if I can get my money back, because I saw used ones selling for about $120, so or about $100. So if I can resell the old headlight for 100, and I just paid 200 for two of them, that just paid for half my headlights there, and so and I get brand new headlights this way. And then fog lights was really cheap. It was like $20, so they were just kind of foggy as well. And plus this one was kind of broken, so I went ahead and just bought a pair of those. And that way, I bought a new grill, new logo. I'm just gonna pop this dent out in the hood a little bit, and I'm hoping that's about it. So now, when I drove this thing home, it did have some issues with the CV axle. I noticed it was kind of making some grinding sounds, so I went ahead and just ordered those up real quick on Rock Auto, and they were only like $50 a side for the whole axle. So for $100, I can put a whole new CV axles on there, and hopefully fix that grinding sound. And then it does have this weird scratch on the back fender, so I'm hoping that will be easy to touch up. And then here we go. Yuck. So this is what you got to deal with when you buy used or auction vehicles sometimes. This thing, it actually looks worse than it actually is. For the most part, the seats were in pretty good condition. There's no like cigarette holes or tears or anything like that. And it had like a bunch of, it was mostly all this brown stuff is all sand actually. So it looked like they took this thing to the beach. They probably took a camp in, and that's probably how they hit the deer. They're probably out camping with it and hit a deer, and which happens, especially if you live out in the country. Yeah. And so you can see there's the better picture of the deer hair. And there's the odometer. They give lots of pictures here. Back seat, gross. It is what it is. And then, yeah. So here you go. Here's the engine. And what's nice, like I said, they do show it running. So, and then there's the bumper. I'm hoping I can kind of buff that out and, uh, you know, make it look a little nicer and stuff. But yeah. So let's go ahead and close that out, and I'll go ahead and check out the Jeep Compass. Okay, so this is the I think the nicer of the two, and because it definitely is a lot newer. It's 5 years newer. It actually has a little more miles. Yeah, it's looking at 117,000 miles. The vehicle score is 31 out of 50, so it's going to be harder to fix. So that means there's some major damage. And as you can see, ouch. This thing, I'm hoping I can. Now, I kind of felt I was kind of curious about this thing because it didn't really seem like there was too much front bumper damage besides this part right here, and it looks like somebody just smacked the hell out of that tire. So I actually went and checked this out in person, and they actually missed the bumper completely. It just hit the plastic part of the bumper, not the metal frame part. And then and so all this damage here, there was like one little metal bracket right here that got kind of bent back, or actually it's sitting right here. I see it. And so that one I got to fix. Um, but otherwise, the frame and everything looked really straight. Uh, and then they and then the reason why the tire is like this is because the strut actually broke. So I'm assuming they just hit a curb or something really hard, and maybe a light pole. I have no idea what they hit with this thing, but it was nasty, and tore up the tire and broke the strut. And so I'm hoping I can replace the strut and replace all. I'm just going to go ahead and go through and replace all the suspension on this thing. I'm just going to make it like brand new. And then I'm hoping things aren't too bent up like in the strut area, And so if I have to tweak something, that's fine. But man, I fired this thing up at the lot, and boy, the engine purred like a kitten. It was really nice. And so I'm actually pretty excited about this vehicle. The inside was immaculate. It was actually really clean. There's a little dirt in here from people checking out the car, but otherwise it was pretty nice. And so I'm hoping I can fix this thing up and hopefully have my wife drive it. And so I'm hoping the other car will pay for this car. Now, granted, I was kind of hoping for, $1,000 to repair this car, but that was with cheap eBay parts. And I think if I give this to my wife, I think I'm going to go all out and buy nice, like, not necessarily OEM parts, but I'll buy some name brand, like struts and everything else. Because from what I researched, you don't want to go cheap on your struts because then your car might be sitting up a little higher or lower, and the ride's going to be weird. And so I want this thing to drive like it was factory. So we're going to try it out. Yeah. So that was that. So, and of course, here it says the cash value is about the same as the Acadia. I think this car is actually worth a little more. I don't think these cash values are 100% accurate. When I actually did my own research, this one here was worth about 10,000. And the other one was actually worth closer to 8,000, 8 to 9,000. So I think this one's worth a little more. And yeah. So, and it says here, of course, once the repairs get the same as the value of the car, that's when they total it. Yeah. So here's the engine. So yeah, it ran real smooth. I know all these videos, you always hear like a weird ticking, but when I did it, it was fine. It was pretty smooth. Um, yeah. So Yeah, so that's about it, guys. So, what you think? Do you think that I made a good purchase, or do you think I got ripped off? I'm gonna try it and see how it goes. I'll even try to make a few videos of me trying to repair these cars, and see how it goes. Cause I'm kind of learning with you guys, and I'm just out here trying to survive in this economy and this world. So, if you have any questions, leave a comment down below, and peace out.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, go.